Unit 6, Lesson 1, adding and subtracting like numbers, mixed numbers. So we're going to talk about adding on, regrouping, ungrouping. The big idea here is in order to add and subtract with fractions, you have to have that common denominator. So that's where those equivalent fractions come into play, because a common denominators, but maybe by finding an equivalent fraction. So we'll work through some of that as we go through this lesson today. So if we've got, I don't even know how to say his name. You guys say it however you want to. Swims 1 2/3 lengths of the pool this morning and 1 2/3 lengths of the pool this afternoon. How many lengths did he swim today? So you can see you could possibly draw a picture here. This is 1 2/3 going across here. And then what they've got is 1 and 1 and 1 2/3 here. So when you think about that picture, you might think, well, okay, so 1 plus 1, I can do that. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then thinking about turning these other pieces of fraction here that are right here into another whole. So you can see how they've circled in red that other whole to make one more whole. So then I've got 1 plus 1 plus, did I say 1 3 times? I don't know. 1 plus 1 plus 1, and then on to the 1/3 that's left, okay, because there's then 1/3 of the whole thing left. Another way that you could do is thinking about regrouping. So again, pulling those ones out and then adding 2/3 plus 2/3, so I get 2 4/3. And then I know I need to simplify because 4/3 here is an improper fraction, right? I can pull a whole out of that because I can take a 3 out of that 4 and make it 3 1/3. That same thing could be done vertically. I prefer when you guys do it that you write vertically. I think that keeps your place value in order, keeps you lined up. So I just think that that's a better idea for you guys personally, okay? The other thing that you could do is convert them all to improper fractions and then add and unconvert. I think that's a lot of steps, but if that's what works for you, go for it. So this one you would be taking 1 2/3 and converting it to 5/3. You can see that done right here, because 1 times 3 is 3 plus 2 is 5, so 5/3. And then the same thing here. Then I get 10/3, and then I see how many 3's I can pull out of that 10. I can pull 3 3's out of the 10, so 3 whole, and 1/3 is left over. Again, whatever method works best for you, I'm fine with. You'll probably consistently see me do more of the regrouping and adding straight away, okay? So if I have 3 5/6 yards of string and I cut off 2 1/6 for my sister, how much string do I have left? This is a subtraction problem, so I'm going to go 3. Make sure I got my pen. 3 5/6. And I'm going to subtract out 2 1/6. When I work with fractions, I always work with the fraction part first when I work with mixed numbers. So I'm going to take 5/6 and I'm going to subtract out 1/6. And I could rewrite that off to the side if I need to. 5/6, right, minus 1/6. That way I'm working across, right? 5 minus 1 is 4. When I add and subtract fractions, as long as I have a common denominator, I don't do anything to it. If I don't have a common denominator, I would have to find one. So then I get 4/6. 3 minus 2 is 1. So 1 4/6. If you're creative, you could simplify that 4/6 by finding an equivalent fraction. When I say simplify, I actually mean divide. Hopefully you know your fact families. You should know that these are both divisible by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I ultimately end up with 1 2/3 as my simplest form answer for this problem. Okay? Okay, so let's go on and try a few more of these problems out and see how we're doing. Again, when I add or subtract fractions, if my denominator is the same, I just add the numerators and I leave my denominator alone. I'm going to switch colors so you guys can see that a little bit better. I think blue works okay. So my numerator stays the same, so 5, and then I add my denominator stays the same, 5, and I add my numerator. 4 plus 3 is 7. Now I have an improper fraction because I can pull out a 5 from that 7. So I'm going to get 1 right? Or 7 is divisible by 5 one time, and what's left over is 2/5. Okay, go on to the next one. They both have 4 as the denominator, so I'm going to leave my 4 alone. 6 plus 3 is 9, and I know my 4 kind of looks like a 9, so let me make that more clear for you guys there. Okay, how many 4s can I pull out of 9? Because I have an improper fraction, I can take 2 out, right? What's left over? 1/4, right? Because 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 9 is 1. So I get that 1/4 up here. Okay, so now when I have a mixed number, again, I can use any of my strategies I want. I'm going to take my whole numbers because it's addition, and I'm going to add them up first. So I'm going to go 4 plus 2 is 6. And then my fraction pieces, they have a common denominator already, so it's 9. I'm going to leave that alone. 7 plus 2 is 9. When I have the same number in the numerator and the denominator, I have 1 whole. So 9/9 is the same thing as saying 1 whole. So it's like 6 plus 1 whole. Well, 6 plus 1 whole is 7. So my answer there is going to be 7. Okay, let's try another one with addition. 1 plus 3 is 4. 7 plus 3 is 10, so 10/8. And again, I have an improper fraction, so I need to pull 1/8 out, 8/8 out of the 10/8 and get another whole. So it's going to be 5 and 2/8. Again, super savvy kiddos might notice that 2 and 8 is not in simplest form. They both are divisible by 2. Divisible by 2. Remember my rule, whatever I do to the numerator, got to do to the denominator. So now I get 1/4. So my actual answer to problem number 4 could be 5 and 1/4 in simplest terms. Okay, let's try some subtraction ones here. Okay, 1 and 7/9 minus 4/9. So this time I'm going to work with the fraction piece first. I'm going to take 7 and I'm going to subtract 4 from it. So I get 3/9. So really this would equal 1 and 3/9. Right, that 1, nothing happens to it. So I'm going to make sure I've got that big, nice big 1 up next to it. Okay, 1 and 3/9. And again, my really savvy kiddos will go, I know my basic facts. Both those numbers are divisible by 3. I would actually get 1 and 1/3. Okay, simplest form. Okay. 4 and 6/7 minus 2 and 5/7. I'm going to take my 6/7 and I'm going to subtract 5/7. 6/7 minus 5/7 is 1/7, right? Because 6 minus 5 is 1. I don't do anything to my denominators. 4 minus 2 is 2, so 2 and 1/7. Okay, coming down here, 4/5 minus 2/5 is 2/5. 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay. If you guys want to pause the video, go ahead and try 8 through 10 on your own, and then come back and check those answers. Okay, welcome back. So in checking our answers, this one there's 2 possible answers you could have said. You could have said 15 and 4/8, and I would have accepted it for now. But the better answer is 15.5, because 4/8 is saying the same thing as 1/2. This one is just 10 whole, because a half plus a half, right? So you might have had 9 and 2/2, but 2/2 makes for a whole. Number 10, 5 and 2/7. Okay. Number 11, 3 and 1/7. Number 12, 100 and 2/3. Notice when I say a whole number, I say the word and before I say the fraction piece. That's really important. Okay, this one, I wanted to do 13 together because there's some ungrouping that has to happen. 2 minus 1/3 seems kind of challenging, but if I remember that each whole is like the number over the number of the fraction, so I could convert this to 1 and 3/3, because 3/3 says 1 whole, and then I can subtract 1/3 from that. Okay, and then I know I get 1 and 2/3. thirds, because then I'm just subtracting those thirds. Same thing here, right? 3/8 minus 7/8. I can't do that. I have to come over here. I'm going to borrow. I'm going to make the whole number a 4. When I borrow one whole, I can't put a 1 here. I'm borrowing 8/8. So I'm going to say 8 plus 3 is 11. So 11 over 8. That's what I've borrowed. I did not borrow 10 like I would in whole numbers. You borrow from the tens place, you get that. This time it's 8/8. I borrow that number in fractions. So 11 minus 7, 4. So 4/8. And 4 minus 2 is 2. An equivalent fraction would be 2 1/2. Okay, try it again. 1/6, I can't subtract 5/6, so I've got to do some borrowing. I'm going to borrow here. I borrow 6/6, so this becomes a 7, not an 11, a 7. Okay, so now I've got 1 7/6 minus 1 5/6. 1 minus 1 is 0, so I don't do anything with that. 7 minus 5 is 2, so 2/6. Or I could simplify that and get 1/3. All right, we'll see you guys in class to practice this some more.